Now, joining us this evening is political analyst Ongama Ntinka to unpack this latest development of the cabinet reshuffle. Hi, good evening to you, Ongama.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now, what do you make of this reshuffle, and why is it an important step for President Cyril Ramaphosa to take at this time?
It's quite an interesting one. There's been calls in South Africa for a cabinet reshuffle for some time, starting from, the need to fire ministers that were facing allegations of corruption, to the recent incidents where our security apparatus was caught off guard, and therefore there were cries from the public that heads need to roll given the extent of damages and distraction that we saw, plus the fact that the state not only failed to prevent the outbreak of what it called an insurrection, but once incident upon incident happened, the responsiveness of the state security apparatus was quite lethargic.
Now, Ongama, let's talk about the changes that were made today. Quite a number of changes, if you ask me, and very important portfolios, like the Health Ministry, and also Tito Mboweni is no longer the Finance Minister. Were these changes warranted, and what does it mean for the Republic of South Africa?
First of all, let's start with the political oversight over the state security agency, which has now been moved to the office of the presidency. That's a good as far as ensuring that the president has got first-hand information in terms of what's happening, and therefore fulfill his role as commander-in-chief more effectively. But what is a source of anxiety for me there is that we have a legacy of political actors that keep interest in the security apparatus only for their own survival, to the extent that there would be monitoring of opposition leaders, their conversations would be tapped, among other things, and the security apparatus would be used for the survival of the sitting president.
And that's not the constitutionally mandated duty of the security apparatus.
I beg your pardon?
I said, and not the constitutional mandated duty of the security
Absolutely.
apparatus.
And in fact, part of the argument is that our security sector has been so drawn into survival politics of the sitting president of the party and the factions of the governing party that it has now been rendered ineffective when it comes to protecting the republic. On the issue of the finance minister, it's really a debate about there isn't a radical shift in terms of the policy outlooks of these ministers. Enoch Godongwana would be more the developmental economist type of person. He's been an activist from a province in the Eastern Cape, has led that finance portfolio and really, pushed development projects, and then moved to national and has been a minister. The only challenge is that the ANC and President Cyril Ramaphosa seem unable to break away from the power constellations that make up power currently and as a result of that, they keep recycling the same people. I'm happy about the portfolio of health because the person who now takes charge, Joe Pahla, is a person who had been in that portfolio and had served 2 ministers and is also a qualified medical doctor himself. So it's a good appointment.
Now, talking about the health ministry portfolio, the immediate past health minister, as well, Mkhize, resigned just hours before the cabinet reshuffle took place. What do you make of it? Is it a little too late? And is that an indictment on her performance as minister?
Yeah, it was a preemptive strike, obviously, given the timing of that resignation. It's almost like a situation where one wouldn't be surprised if there was a communication between the minister and the president or his aide that suggested that he needed to do this or be fired. You're quite right. It came too late. One of the problems we're having in South Africa, and I think that in many countries in the continent as well, is the failure of politicians to fall on their own sword once they realize that they've not acted in the best interest of the country. It's still a long way to get there. People here would rather force the hand of the president and have him make difficult decisions that may rattle some, support bases instead of them actually doing the right thing.
Now, finally, on Gamma, I know it's early days, but what do you make of the composition of this new cabinet? Is it a reshuffle of old politicians? Do we have technocrats? Is it the much needed new blood that is meant to drive South Africa and move them away from the recession and, of course, development post-coronavirus pandemic?
There are some younger ministers that are promising, but largely it's a recycling of the old guard. The ANC has failed to sort of transcend the nostalgia of liberation politics. So notions of seniority and appropriateness for office are very much determined by struggle credentials. And I think that's what is a cause of our problems in the first place, that these politicians cannot imagine a reality beyond their their political credentials, and therefore they are backward-looking instead of forward-looking leaders whose excitement is more the things that they can do in future than the strides they have made earlier on in their lives. And the reason why we are not pushing as much as we should as a country is precisely because we've got people who have a sense that they have arrived and they're entitled to office as retirement, as opposed to leaders that still have got a big desire to achieve great things on the basis of the fact that they don't have much by way of liberation credentials. And if they are going to be respectable leaders, they must lead their portfolios with excellence. This is something that the ANC is failing to learn from its Chinese counterpart, where allocation of office is very much a function of what have you done before, and have you led at lower levels, at subnational levels, to deserve to be appointed even at a national level.
Thank you very much, Ongama Mteka. Always a pleasure talking to you as always. Thanks for helping us unpack the cabinet reshuffle and President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.